All right, let's jump right into what is, well, a pretty intense geoeconomic drama. We're talking about a brand new economic shield the European Union has built to protect its members from outside pressure. But, how does this thing actually work? And what happens when it gets put to the ultimate test? So here's the scene. Imagine it's March 2026. A re-elected President Trump issues this, very direct threat. The target? Spain, a major EU ally. And it's all because Spain said no to letting its military bases be used for operations against Iran. So yeah, this is way more than just some tough talk. It's a straight-up challenge to a country's right to make its own decisions. And it puts Brussels in a really tough spot. Do they finally unleash this powerful, but let's be honest, pretty risky new weapon? Okay, so what is this thing? Where did it even come from? Well, this is the story of something called the Anti-Coercion Instrument, or ACI for short. Now, this tool didn't just appear out of thin air. It was really born out of these intense economic pressure campaigns, especially what China did to Lithuania back in 2021 over Taiwan. That whole episode was a huge wake-up call for the EU. It showed just how vulnerable they were. So they decided they needed a unified defense, and boom, by mid-2024, the ACI was officially on the books. And this is where it gets really interesting, how the EU actually defines coercion. It's not just about, someone breaking a specific trade rule. We're talking about any kind of economic arm twisting, or even just the threat of it, that tries to force a country to change its mind on a sovereign decision. It's a super broad definition. So here's the absolute key takeaway. The ACI isn't really meant to be an offensive weapon. Its main job is deterrence. Think of it like a big shield. The hope in Brussels is that just by having this shield, nobody will even try to throw a punch in the first place. But what if that doesn't work? What if someone calls their bluff? What can the EU actually do? Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts of the counterattack. First thing to know, this is not a quick draw weapon. It's a slow, deliberate process. Step 1, the Commission spends months investigating. Step 2, all the member states have to vote and agree. Yep, this is definitely coercion. And only then, after all that, can the Commission finally roll out its response. The whole point is to be careful and methodical, not just, react in the heat of the moment. And this is what makes the ACI so powerful. It's super flexible. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. The EU has this whole menu of countermeasures to choose from. They can slap tariffs on iconic products. They can restrict access for huge tech companies. They could even lock firms out of their massive public contracts market. It's all about tailoring the response to be just right, proportional, but also super effective. And that's the big deal here, right? By creating this toolkit, the EU is basically sending a message to the world about how it's going to play the game of economic warfare from now on. Okay, so let's say they actually pull the trigger on these countermeasures. The fallout would be, well, massive. What kind of ripple effect are we talking about for the whole global economy? The stakes couldn't be higher. We are talking about the biggest trade relationship on the planet. Over 1.3 trillion euros. Putting that in jeopardy, that would send absolute shockwaves through the entire global financial system. No question. And if you zoom in on Spain, you can really see why this matters. The ACI is basically an economic bodyguard for the country being targeted. Without it, a full U.S. trade cut could absolutely wreck Spain's economy. But with the EU stepping in and pushing back, that damage gets cut down, dramatically. And look, this isn't just some abstract economic theory. This stuff hits real people and real jobs. We're talking about thousands of jobs at car plants, billions of euros in the aerospace industry, not to mention huge pharma and farming businesses. These are the engines of Spain's economy. So this goes way beyond just the economic numbers, right? This whole standoff is a fundamental test of the EU's power on the world stage. It's about whether they can truly act independently. But let's be clear, this tool is not a silver bullet. It's got some real challenges. For one, it's slow. That whole deliberate process we talked about, it takes months. A US president can sign an executive order in seconds, and the EU has to walk this incredibly fine line. The response has to be strong enough to matter, but not so strong that it kicks off a full-blown trade war, or, and this is a big one, accidentally hurts other EU countries in the process. So, back to our 2026 scenario. The situation is totally on a knife's edge. You've got Brussels officially monitoring, you have Madrid screaming for them to activate the ACI, and pretty much the whole world is holding its breath, waiting to see who's gonna blink first. And this really brings us back to the core question, the whole reason the ACI was created. Is a weapon you never actually have to fire the most successful weapon of all? It's a fascinating thought, right? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about protecting Spain in one hypothetical crisis. It's about something much bigger. It's about completely changing the game for any country thinking about using economic muscle against Europe. This is the EU basically planting a flag and declaring, we are not a punching bag anymore. We're a real geoeconomic power, and we will defend ourselves.